When you talk about bumming a player, it's pretty much
great courage. One that says the bump is dead. That's how you deliver it.
What is going on, YouTube universe? My name is Trent and welcome to the Hip and Shoulder, where we discuss everything Australian rules football. And today, just like your missus told you last week, it's time to get your tips in. And we're doing it for round 13. It is another bye round. I hate that we have to go through another lot of these, but hey, beggars can't be choosers. We're still getting some football, and this weekend boasts some very tasty head-to-head clashes. But alas, before we continue, we have to reflect on the very poor round that we tipped in round 12, because I only managed to get 3 out of 7. I am knocked out of the gauntlet. I've been eliminated for minimum 5, and overall I thought I had a pretty bad tipping round, but we've actually made some moves in the competition, and I don't know how, but we did. Having a look at how I did tip for the round, in case you guys missed that particular video, I tipped Port Adelaide to win by 14. We know that fucking went south, and they lost by 6 goals. We tipped the Bulldogs, who ended up getting over the top of Collingwood. We tipped Hawthorn, who managed to topple Adelaide. We went with West Coast at home, and they lost to St Kilda. I backed in Richmond, who lost to Geelong. We went with Melbourne, who got belted by Fremantle, and we backed in the Gold Coast, who fell over the line against Essendon. Incredibly poor round. I'm very disappointed. I almost changed my West Coast and Richmond tips before those games went down, but didn't touch them. Thought I'd back myself in. Probably shouldn't have, because I would have at least gotten the 5 and I would have been alive for the minimum 5. But with that being said, while I'm doom and gloom and all about that misery, there was one person in the tipping competition this week that managed to get 6 out of 7, almost had a completely perfect tipping round, and that was a good friend of mine, some cripple. Sir, congratulations to you guys for tipping the most correct amount of tips on your own this weekend, solo up the top of the ladder. And speaking of solo up the top of the ladder, we have had some player movement go down. At the top of the table, somebody who has been a mainstay in my tipping competitions in recent years, we have Dusty Fendoff 4 on 72 tips overall, nipping at his heels. Again, some people that have been on board with us for a very long time, Frio 90 and Matt Lamb 24. My big force, Kin, sitting in 4th place. He'll turn around and tell you that he didn't get his tips in this week because he's been moving house. I'd tell you, he's just full of fucking excuses. Benny Craig is on 69 tips, sitting in 5th place, tied with Dan Cash. Team Wiggles sitting on 68, and our top 10 rounds out with Pommy Tiger, Saintly 12, Some Cripple, and effectively NATO, Gramercy Riffs, and the Blooper Reel, who are all tied on 67 tips. Now, I want to try to break into the top 10 because there's no way I can chase down the top spot. Top 10 currently is sitting on 67. Your boy Zira's up to 63. We're only 4 tips behind, surprisingly, after a very bad fucking round of tipping. So I don't know how we did it, but I'm still in the running. But before we continue, again, congratulations to Dusty Fendoff 4 for taking a lead in the competition on his own for the first time this season. And while I'm at it, I just want to thank you all for getting behind this tipping competition so far. I know, in retrospect to the amount of people within the competition, it is one of the lower end ones that I have done, but kicking off a brand new YouTube channel and kind of, you know, playing around with the algorithm and not having as much reach here that I would have on my gaming channel, I think we're doing okay. And I just want to take the time to just tell you all that I appreciate you all. If, you know, you've gotten behind the tipping competition, if you watch my videos, leave likes and comments, and if you've subscribed, thank you all so much. But it is time to move on to But it is time, ladies and gentlemen, to move on to round 13, which does kick off tonight because, again, I have left this video incredibly later in the week than I should have, and I apologize for that. Speaking of, later tonight, the round recap podcast for round 12 will officially drop. I wanted to drop that yesterday. Technical difficulties pushed it back to today, and further technical difficulties pushed it back to tonight. Why? The NBN was getting worked on in my area, and your boy didn't have access to the internet. But we have Adelaide hosting Richmond down at Adelaide Oval. Richmond with some big ins, Dion Prestia, Tim Taranto, Shea Bolton, all back in, fit and firing, good to go. Jacob Kajitsky has been recalled to the team. On the flip side of things for Adelaide, they have decided to drop Riley O'Brien, and they're playing a rookie ruckman who hasn't had a senior game in 2 years. No Tex Walker up forward. Isaac Rankin's still out injured. Matt Crouch is done for the year. Jordan Dawson is apparently carrying a foot injury. I am tipping an upset. I am going with my boys, the Tigers, and we are going to win tonight by 13 points against Adelaide. We almost had Geelong against the ropes, and we did for a half of football. We dropped off. We played very competitive football, though, in the last 2 weeks, and I really feel with ins like Prestia, like Taranto, like Bolton, these are some X-Factor style players for us. These are the down and dirty, nitty-gritty type of players. And I think, given the circumstances here with our ins versus Adelaide's outs, this is a game we can capitalise on, and I think we're going to do so. And hey, if we can get up and fucking finally win a game, I'll be so fucking out. I'll just be happy, so happy, please. Please. God, are you listening? Please let Richmond win tonight. I'll do anything. Please. Friday night at Marvel Stadium, we have the Bulldogs hosting Brisbane. We know Brisbane don't travel all too well. However, we have seen them in the past do that usual kind of upset game where you'd think they're going to drop one, but they come down here and they turn it on, and we start to think, hey, these guys could be a premiership threat because they're winning away from the Gabba. However, Bulldogs take a lot of confidence out of their win against Collingwood last week, and I think they get the job done against Brisbane on Friday night. Saturday, University of Tasmania Stadium, Hawthorn versus GWS. Am I crazy to think that I'm tipping Hawthorn here? I'm tipping Hawthorn for 3 wins in a row. And then next week against Richmond, if they win, that'll be 4 in a row. They're on a roll. They play exceptionally, I can't even say the word, fucking hell. They play exceptionally well down at Tasmania. They're playing a great brand of football. GWS on the flip side have really dropped off in recent weeks. They're going to want to claim a win to kind of get some kind of momentum back. This is the game they really need to win, but I think Hawthorn might be too tall of a task down at Tasmania. Optus Stadium, West Coast taking on North Melbourne. A lot of people have said if North Melbourne do not win this game, they will not win a game for the 2024 season. I think they're going to find it incredibly hard to knock off West Coast in West Coast. Jake Waterman should come back in. Tim Kelly should come back in. No Harley Reid. No worries. It should be no worries for West Coast here. I think they should get it done. I would love to see North Melbourne get up and win here, but I don't see how they get the avenue to do so. Marvel Stadium, Saturday night, St Kilda taking on the Gold Coast Suns. Gold Coast are going to come down and do an absolute number on St Kilda, and I am going to love every minute of it. I might even try to get to the game, who knows. Sunday, SCG, Sydney taking on Geelong in the first of 3 absolutely banging games. Don't know how Geelong are going to get across the line against Sydney, especially if they struggled for as long as they did against a depleted Richmond team. Sydney should win this one by about 4 or 5 goals. MCG, Essendon taking on Carlton. 2 teams that have had wins against clubs that are kind of, people have questioned whether or not they're truly going to be top 4, especially Essendon. They have been questioned a hell of a lot, especially when you look at the wins that they have had this year. I think this week Essendon get found out. I think Carlton win. This is finally going to be a week where I believe it's in 9 years we're finally going to see the Mackay twins play against each other. Crazy to think that it's taken this long for it to happen. It's still chances for a laid out, don't get me wrong, but I think Carlton are going to be too good for Essendon on the night. And at the MCG, to round out the round, we have Collingwood hosting Melbourne, and after the debacle that was Melbourne against Fremantle last week, Collingwood, even with their outs, I'm going to back them in to win. Why? Because even if Collingwood were on their last legs, there is no way a forward line where Harrison Petty only gets 2 touches a game is going to come close to touching Collingwood. Collingwood could have fucking 5 Mason Coxes out there not going to touch a football and still be better than Melbourne. Melbourne are in disarray right now, and I don't know what the fuck is going on. Just to recap, we're going with Richmond, the Bulldogs, Hawthorn, West Coast, Gold Coast, Sydney, Carlton, and Collingwood. No chance for me to do the gauntlet this week, and no worries about talking about the minimum 5, because as I said, I have been eliminated from both of them. Now, when it comes to our multis for the week, as I did mention a little bit playfully, my mate Damo has been in the process of moving houses this week, so he hasn't been able to get a tip out to me. However, we have been blessed, ladies and gentlemen, by the man who tipped the most correct amount of tips for the round, Mr. Some Cripple himself, Mick 10, Crip, whatever he wants to go by. He came through for us in a rather big way, and he has given us a multi for tonight. I hope this video drops in time for you guys to check this out if you guys are keen. Before I do talk about it though, just again, let's preface it with the usual. Chances are you're already losing. Make sure you're smart with your money. Set yourself your limits when it comes to spending that money gambling wise. I don't endorse it. Don't have to do anything I say right here, really. Come on. Let's be honest. I've said it plenty of times up until this point in time. If you're going to gamble, just be smart about it. Don't be a dickhead. And I'm not at all trying to convince you to gamble. This is just a way for us to have a little bit of an extra deep dive into football from a different lens and give us something to discuss in the comments down below, because I know some of you like to come through and suggest your own kind of tips and multis and bets and things that you guys are doing on the weekend anyway. So hey, it's time for us to have a bit of fun. One multi this week, it is a same game multi of 11 legs for the Adelaide Richmond hit out tonight. We have Ryan Mansell and Lachlan Scholl, Josh Rochelle as anytime goal scorers. We have Jake Saligo to get 25 disposals or more, as well as Rory Laird, Lockie Scholl, Dion Prestia, Daniel Rioli to all have 20 plus disposals, and Mark Keane, Thompson Dow, and Luke Nankervis to all have 15 plus disposals. As much as I fumbled my way through that multi, if it goes off, it is going to return yourself $24.75. And as you can see on screen, our boy Some Cripple's got a $10 stake on it to return $247. So, sir, and to anyone else who wants to get on board with this one, hope it comes through for you all. That is it for today's tips. Quick, concise, straight to the point, because last week was fucking terrible and this week is short and we're trying to bang this one out before the night goes down. Do hope you guys are enjoying what I do here. If you are, you can hit that like button down below, because it will tell YouTube that I'm doing something right. And hit that subscribe button as well if you want to get on board the community that we are slowly piecing together here. Once again, I just want to thank you all for the amount of support you have shown so far, and I welcome you all to help me grow this community into something truly special. But that's it from me, guys. I'm out of here. Good luck to your teams this weekend, provided they're not sitting on the pine because of the buys. And as always, I will catch you guys next time.